And welcome back to another edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond podcast. I'm your host, Tom Johnston. I'm joined by LaMarr Fields. How you doing, brother? How's your week been?
Pretty good, yours?
Hey, it's just a nice, lovely week in paradise, with all the MLB games going on, and then you got the NHL Stanley Cup finals with the NBA finals. It's a great mixture. It's hey, I can't complain. But this week in MLB news, there have been some marquee matchups going down. But first, I really wanted to just review the week and review the weekend because by now, there are teams that have positioned themselves to have won the series already, while there are others that are going to be in a position to either do that tonight. And, there's a big game tonight for Sunday Night Baseball between the Dodgers and the Yankees. But before we get into that, I want your thoughts, LaMarr, on how things have transpired earlier this week, considering that I think it's for the first time this entire season, the Oakland Athletics actually have won a series. And I don't know how, but it was against the Atlanta Braves. I really want your insights on this, considering we've seen how the A's have struggled and how they continuously continue to struggle. Um, I'm just curious as to how they actually beat the Braves.
Just one of those series where good things happen for the A's. I mean, you play 162 games, you're bound to win a series or two here and there, even if you're not a good team. But I mean, the A's players gonna play hard, but they just haven't got the talent. They're gonna play hard every game. So when you play hard, eventually you'll win a game or two.
I mean, yeah, that's what I do want to point out. There's still a lot of season left to be played. It's a great feeling when you can actually, win a series against a Braves team that is realistically one of the teams picked to win the NL East, and they are very stacked in their own right. And against this is what I love about baseball. Sometimes the impossible actually occurs, and that's a great thing because it gives us a lot more to talk about per se. Now, I also do want to mention this. The Pirates, ironically, they saved their first series win for May at the last possible series in May with, ironically, the San Francisco Giants. I know you and I were talking about that earlier on last week. I was able to catch glimpses of the highlights, but it's so I can't explain the Pirates. They went from April to really sweeping three series and winning three series to then in May they kind of fell backwards into a collapse and literally lost like every series they possibly could. And then against the Giants team, they won. And then now you flip the calendar to June and they've won two out of three. They
Yep.
could actually sweep the Cardinals, but they won two out of three because they've won Friday and Saturday's game. But it's just it's a unique perspective. I know that there are a few other teams throughout, but what are your thoughts on all the midweek and the early week matchups that occurred, and where do you see things flowing coming out of this weekend?
Yankees and Dodgers are a big series of the weekend. That's one of them games where you see who's playing. You already know who the Sunday night going to be between those two teams without even looking. Yes, baseball's a long season, man. You just got to go through the peaks and valleys and just then you got to do is come in every day and play hard. Come in every day and play hard. You're going to give yourself a chance to win a game. Pirates now on a 4 game winning streak. And the Giants just gonna be the Giants. The 500 team, 29-29. They win three in a row and lose like three in a row. So just one of those things. Baseball's been really entertaining this year. I mean, I know some people harp on the rule changes and stuff, but it definitely make the game more faster, and that's a plus, I think. And attendance is up so far this year, so it's pretty good for baseball.
No, you do point out some good points because I actually do want to touch on that before we get into the other stuff we have on the rundown. A lot of people and I listen to a daily podcast. This guy I listen to, his name's Lenny Melnick. He's really into fantasy baseball. He really breaks stuff down. But, he was asking me a question a while back that I really gave him some insight on. And I really told people, I was like, listen, fans are complaining that the game is too short, that it's getting under 2 hours or it's around 2 hours. And at first, prior to these rules being implemented, fans were complaining about the games being too long. You can't you gotta roll with what you're rolling with. To me, the way that I kind of look at this and see this is you can't really complain about something being too long, and then whenever they implement rule changes, like, somebody was complaining to me about, oh, the parking and ticket prices, and I'm just like, yeah, but here's the thing, you can choose where you park, you can choose what tickets you buy, you can choose all of that. Like, that's a choice to be made. And,
Hmm.
I really actually found an interesting stat because, paying attention to these broadcasts, I'm a stat guy. Like, that's really what I like to pay attention to. And it really signifies, how the game's moving. There's been like a 70+% increase in stolen bases this season. And I want to get your thoughts because a small change such as the bases getting bigger and wider, that can lead to a lot more successful stolen bases. Do you think that that's actually attributed to the stolen bases, or do you think it's attributed more to how there's only allowed like two pickoff attempts? I think it's like per plate appearance or whatever the case is whenever the guy is on first. What do you think's actually the leading cause, or do you think it's a mixture of both?
Takes a little bit of mixture of both. The base is definitely being bigger, and also the pick off attempts. So you can pick and choose when you want to steal. People like to take more chances to steal, especially against left-handed pitchers. But yeah, I just think I mean, you see, and also the shifts and stuff have stuff to do with it. So it's it's a combination of everything. And teams just being more aggressive on the base pass. I like to see it. Reminds me of old school baseball.
No, definitely. I'm a fan of the rule changes because it's encouraging the game to move faster. I tell people, I remember at the beginning, prior to the beginning of the season, how they had a pitching competition of the same pitcher. He's in the minor leagues. I forget who the guy is, and that's a little bit better on my end, but, like, seeing how, like, much more faster he's pitching now with the pitch clock in compared to, like, how it took him, like, a minute and 30 seconds in between pitches without the pitch clock. To me, I'm a fan of that because that's encouraging the pitchers to move along, like, to me, even as a general neutral baseball fan, I don't see why there should be a reason why pitchers take a minute and 30, like, a minute and 30 seconds to like go between pitches. Like, there should be no reason you got to step out as a batter and call time. There should be no reason
Hmm.
to step off the mound. Like, it's either you know the pitch you want or you don't, and either you're gonna put the pitch where you want it or you're gonna get beat. That's a part of the game of baseball, but there's no reason to like sit there because I think that's part of the reason why attendance was down was because fans just see that, okay, why is all of this happening? Like, there's no reason to. And even as some broadcasters, I think some broadcasters were getting frustrated because it's just like, it's the small stuff like that that's like that should not like really be the cause of why, like, the game's moving as quick. But, moving into this weekend, there are a few marquee matchups to get into. And we'll start off with the prime one, just to get everybody going. It's the Dodgers, the Yankees, and I was listening to the broadcast yesterday on Fox Sports, and then I was listening to Friday's game on Yes. And I must say, Josh Donaldson, Stanton, they both returned. But more importantly, Aaron Judge just keeps doing Aaron Judge things. And I really want to get your thoughts and insights on this because both Donaldson and Stanton, I do know that there was one other guy that was with them down at a rehab start, but they only had one rehab game. Now, I know for guys like Giancarlo Stanton, he doesn't really need a boatload of rehab games. He's really just a guy of like, what we can get what we need to get done up at the major league level. But your thoughts on the Yankees, how much better are they with Stanton and Donaldson in the lineup versus how much off worse they actually are?
I'm gonna stand in Donaldson line. We got extra power and home run threat, so it's extra protection for Judge, which could see a lot more pitches than normal. Especially if Stanton and Donaldson are producing. If Stanton and Donaldson producing, it's an extra plus. But you always need that protection when you got a guy like Judge in the lineup, so Stanton can stay healthy and remain that form he was before he got hurt. Man, it could be an extra. You can like another 30+ home run guy.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I remember how last week we were even talking about how, it's great that, Aaron Judge is doing what he's doing, but it's even better when you can position guys in front and behind him that are also equally or better producing too at times, because then that means that it really forces teams to pitch to Judge. And, that can really be a ball game of odds either tilted in or against your favor. But like if both guys in front and behind him are producing, then it really is better for Judge himself, because I see this guy's not slowing down, but I also do remember how the Yankees broadcast team of Michael Kay, that legendary guy. I just love how he sometimes delivers the game in play by play fashion, but I remember him talking to Aaron Boone the one day, and he literally, was asking him a couple questions, and Boone like took, Judge's side, or he took Stanton aside, and he actually said, we could deal with you not being in the lineup for like 10 days with this injury, but if it were to escalate to like a month or two, then we'd really be hurting. So I can see like how it's transformed the team in a lot of ways, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, I think if you get both Stanton and Donaldson producing again at a high level, it can really be a scary tactic for this entire Yankees organization, because I remember whenever the Yankees were just at 500 finishing off the month of April, and now to see where they could come from, I mean, it was great to see how the Dodgers came out on Friday, but then how the Yankees responded Saturday, because all it does is it really leaves for a great Sunday night game tonight to,
Mm-hmm.
really see, okay, well, either one or the other is going to win. But it's amazing. These two teams drew 52,000, over 52,000 fans. So I mean, as an LA Dodgers owner who owns the team, you got to be thrilled with that, because on two games, both the Yankees and the Dodgers drew over 100,000 fans in just
Mm-hmm.
two games, and then you still have tonight's game.
Yeah,
So
two
I
horse.
mean, that's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, two historically franchises playing each other. Yankees fans always come out like A's tennis around 8,000, 9,000 a night right now. When they play the Yankees, it's gonna probably be to like 20,000.
Oh, it
Because
is.
Yankee fans gonna go. Yankee fans come out, man. There'll be more Yankee fans there than A's fans.
You know what's crazy though? I think whenever you look at the teams, if there are two franchises in the MLB, now I could be wrong, there could be more, but just from my experience, I've noticed that Yankees fans and Cubs fans travel really well. Like no matter where you go and your team's facing the Yankees or the Cubs, they travel. Like I was already looking ahead at the September matchup that whenever the Yankees come to Pittsburgh to face the Pirates for a weekend. And like I'm seeing all these sections like sold out, and I'm just like, this is crazy. But then I'm like, well, we're only like 5 hours and some change apart, so it's like it doesn't
Yeah,
surprise me.
yeah.
But now this brings us, now that we're on the topic of the Dodgers, it really brings me to this topic with Clayton Kershaw. By far one of the most dominant pitchers to ever step foot on a Major League Baseball mound. He's a 15 plus year veteran taking it year by year. The Dodgers are paying him what, like $20 million this year.
Hmm.
And it really occurred to me just actually listening to it on the broadcast Friday night, but then actually looking at it. There are two teams that Clayton Kershaw has not faced in his career. And I know one of them's the Orioles. I forget the other team. But ironically, due to Major League Baseball's new structuring of the schedule, the Dodgers and the Orioles will match up this year. And pending now, here's my question to you. Do you think if the matchups line up right and Kershaw is scheduled like in his slot to face them, that Dave Roberts will pull it, or I shouldn't even word it like that. Of course, if he's lined up in the right slot, that he'll face them. But do you think if he's not lined up in the right slot, that Dave Roberts might actually do the unthinkable and redo the rotation for a bit so that Kershaw can actually have a chance at facing the Orioles?
I don't think so. Kershaw's still up there in age. He's still injury prone. So if you maybe push him after pushing back for a start, I could see that, but not moving him up or nothing like that.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from because at the end of the day, you're like, okay, it's great to say to finish your major league career whenever Kershaw does eventually decide to hang it up. That yeah, I faced every team and I beat them, but I don't honestly think because I'm not sure when that matchup with the Orioles and the Dodgers does occur. I know it comes within like the next month or two or so, but I don't think that would be a managerial decision that like Dave Roberts sits there and says, you know what, like, yeah, let's do this because to me, what Dave Roberts would be more focused on is winning that series versus let's just get Clayton Kershaw on the mound for one of those games so that he can add another team that he's beat to his resume. Even though it'd be impressive to do that, it's really thinking apples to apples, oranges to oranges. What's more important, the health and the safety of my star pitcher that is just getting up there in age that I could preserve, or is it more important just to put him out there for a win? Because the last thing you really want to do is move this guy out of like upper back in a rotation and push his start back, and then all of a sudden like it leads to an injury or he ends up losing anyway, and then it's just like, what's the point of you actually doing it?
Hmm.
So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. I mean, but even looking back on like ERAs and everything, like this guy's got like a career ERA of like 260 or 290 as a starter. Like that's insane. Like think about all the great pitchers to like ever step foot on a major league mound that have actually pitched and have won Cy Young awards, have been able to pitch for Team USA, have been able to like go to a World Series, have been able to do some of the remarkable things that pitchers are able to do. But then like, you look and it's like Clayton Kershaw, but like you don't have a career ERA like that. Like I want you to actually give fans a perspective. How tough is it to actually maintain and not only just how tough, but how good does that actually make like talent resemble wise show you that like you're that good of a pitcher to like maintain a career ERA under 3?
Yeah, just longevity, putting in work, and a lot of injuries, but come back, battling back, and still pitching well, keeping his arm fresh. Scholar, you don't get that well. The price studies the scouting reports. I mean, you got to study, pitch to your strengths and pitch to the batter's weaknesses.
There's also another thing to add to it. He has one of the oddest deliveries I have ever seen a major league pitcher have. You topple how much he probably studies on top of everything else that he does, and then you add that like let's just I'm gonna just be honest, it is a weird delivery that Kershaw presents. Like it's a weird delivery he does, but you add all that on top of that. That's really just a mixture to be like, wait, like he actually does that? Like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, more power to Kershaw. I mean, he's a once in a generational pitcher. I think, and props to him. I mean, I don't do comparisons, but it's honestly like Derek Jeter being with the Yankees for his entire career. Like to see a guy stay with one franchise for his entire professional career, I think it really goes to show how much the franchise values him, but also like how great of a player he is to where like, you were able to like really keep this guy with you his entire career. And that's something that, you don't see a lot of times is the longevity because guys really like, but I mean, props, it is Los Angeles, it is New York, so those teams would be able to offer, but those teams also probably have ownerships that are willing to spend the big bucks that, not a lot of other ownerships would be. Now, this, on the other hand, is a crazy stat. I have done research and realized that McCutchen is approaching 2,000 career hits as a Pittsburgh Pirate. I do know that he's like 3 hits shy of doing it. Um, to me, that's actually kind of a crazy number to think that's actually happening, considering that, how he was brought up through the Pirates system, but then also the various teams that he's bounced around. Like he's played with the Yankees, he's played with the Giants, he's played with the Brewers. Those are the top 3 teams I know he's played with off of my head. There could be more, but just to see it come full circle and now that, he's close to approaching 2,000 career hits as a Pittsburgh Pirate, I think that that's amazing to just show, how much like he's really had with just one organization. But I think it's also very fitting that, Bob Nutting really thought about bringing him back to, not just necessarily do that because you're never going to realize how many hits somebody might have with a specific organization. But I think it goes to show, overall, just where the Pirates are, I think McCutcheon's had a very positive impact with his leadership on this team. He's been able to, I think, really breed into the younger guys on this team, and potentially, I think he's really had a lot of impact on Brian Reynolds. I think that guy, whenever it's all said and done, he is probably going to be the future leader of the Pittsburgh Pirates in some capacity. And I think for McCutcheon to have the impact he's having on Reynolds, but also on the team overall, it really solidifies the nucleus because you got a young core group of guys and then you have that veteran, but it's not like the veteran's there to be the veteran. The veteran's there to provide the leadership that the younger guys don't really have because of where they are. And I think that it really goes to show that, hey, like it's more than just McCutcheon coming back to Pittsburgh to come back. It's him coming back to actually provide that leadership. And I think that fans are starting to see that's why the team is probably where it's at right now. I mean, even though the team might be winning and losing, they're still in the thick of things. They're it's not like they bounce drastically off. And I think a lot of it attributes to having a mixture of young guys and a mixture of veteran leadership on a team that helps prepare that because, say if you don't have Kutch doing that or you don't have Kutch in that role, you know, what's there to say? These younger guys can literally probably think of it as, oh, we're losing. Oh, we're losing.
Hmm.
Whereas you have a veteran that's been in that role before, he knows how to really steer the ship in the right direction. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, providing that veteran leadership for a young baseball team and producing at the same time helps definitely helps the locker room and helps the team going forward.
Definitely, definitely. Now, I don't know how much you've known about this or not, but it was really an interesting stat yesterday. Whenever I was hearing the game broadcast on Fox Sports, the Padres have the least productive 9-hole spot in their lineup in the entire league. I think I forget like the average wise it's far below like any other team, and I think that that's an interesting stat to say the least because a lot of people would think whenever your lineup goes from the top to the bottom it's going to be from the highest productive person to the least productive, but at the same time like just hearing the stat that like your 9-hole hitter is the least productive. And I'm not specifically saying it's any one specific player, but it's just that specific spot in the Padres lineup is the least productive in the entire league. I want you to give fans an insight because now with the National League having the DH, how vital is that 9 hole? Because it's like now, more often than not, it was your pitcher being in that 9 hole. And yes, you would expect your pitcher to be the least productive because now that I think about it, hey, maybe it's good that the National League has been able to implement the DH because, let's be honest, if your pitcher can only focus on pitching, that's great. Whereas, now you could actually mix and match with that 9 hole in that number one slot because then now you can really have two productive guys, one in the 9 hole, one in the first slot in the lineup that can really be productive. And then all of a sudden, your entire lineup can really be a mix and match of who's really productive, who can really get hot versus just being, oh yeah, we'll just throw the pitcher in the 9 hole. But the stat that sticks out is it's the least productive 9 spot where in the entire league where it's a universal DH. So it's like, what do you think is attributing to that? And more importantly, do you think that if the Padres were to fix a thing or two around it, hey, maybe besides like everything else in the lineup's producing, but maybe if we get this 9 hole situated, maybe this lineup overall could become a better suit.
Um, there's a concern, 9 hole, but they're batting 222 as a team with the good players they got on their roster. It's it's more than a 9 hole. I mean, you got a lot of, Soto batting 256. Machado just got back batting 226. Tatis batting 258. I mean, Bogart's 252. These are all players you got playing big money to, and they're not hitting for average. I mean, they sixth in the national lead in home runs, but they last in the national lead in batting average. So it's either home run, pretty much either only way to score a run is either on home runs. So they're going to have to start hitting better.
No, that's true. I
I
mean,
mean, you're starting catcher batting 125,
wow.
DH batting 178, Trent Grisham 198. So I mean, just got to start. I mean, still really early, but these guys need to start hitting. That's why they're 27 and 31 right now. A lot of people picked them to win the win the NL West, of course, but I mean, they're just not hitting right now. They got to start hitting for getting on base.
No, I mean that's some great insight because I mean, wow, to have some batting averages that low that's terrible because I mean, I see where people are coming from because this is a Padres team that these owners have like if I could just count off the top of my head, it's been like $500 million in like the
Mm-hmm.
past two off seasons that like the ownership is forking out and just to see some of those abysmal stats, it's like wait, but you're because then it really does go to show like, well, if I do invest this much, am I really going to get this in return? Like, am I really going to get that in return? Like, because then I mean, because you look at the guys like you just mentioned, like you have a Juan Soto, but then also like you have a Manny Machado who you just re-signed because he opted out, but then he like re-signs for 300+ million. It's just like, okay, well, you're expected to produce whenever you sign these big contracts, and it's just like, I get that, some of these guys are coming off injury and this, that, the other, but it's just like, I mean, it makes interesting. I mean, I found that to be an interesting stat because I'm just like, wait, like it's the least productive in like the entire like league. Like, I mean, there there's certain coaches that fill certain roles within a lineup because okay, well, do you really expect your number 9 guy to be productive? But I
Mm-hmm.
guess whenever you add and you implement a universal DH, then it's just like, okay, well, I really can mix and match because if I'm a manager now, it's easier said than done whenever I'm in that position. But if I'm a manager, you know, I would try to really mix and match my lineup to be like, okay, I'm gonna put a productive guy at 9 and a productive guy at 1. That way it's just like, okay, well, I'm flowing the lineup in and out. And then I don't know if you had any more to add on to that or not, because I mean it is the Padres, but I
Oh
mean
yeah, I got some knocking that, and also just their starting pitching staff. I mean, they second in the NL with a 3.78 ERA, but it's not because of their starters. You Darvish is 4-4 with a 4.10 ERA. Blake Snell spent a lot of money on one win and six losses on a 4.50 ERA. Musgrove a 4.17 ERA. I mean, their best pitcher right now is Michael Walker, 5-2 with a 3.48 ERA. But their bullpen is pretty good. That's why the ERA is second in the NL because their bullpen, not because of the starters. So I mean, paying a lot of money to these players, and just about none of them is producing.
you brought up Michael Walker, and I only remember him from like the St. Louis Cardinals, and then you
Yeah.
got Yu Darvish, who's been with he's been with a variety of teams, most
Hmm.
notably the Texas Rangers. But it's even the fact that like you even point that out, he's like 36, and they just signed him to like a nice chunk deal for a starting pitcher. It's just like he, Joe Musgrove used to be with the Pirates. He's a San Diego native. I know that. It's just wow. It's not even just a hit, but like it's surprising because you see all the money this owner's invested,
Yep. Yep.
and it's just like where it's going. Now, I do wanted to point out with the Tampa Bay Rays, as hot as they have been, they've actually cooled off a bit in the month of May, and it drastically shows. I know that they've split a couple series. They've also have lost a couple series. I'm only sure of like one series that they actually did win, and I believe it was against the Baltimore Orioles. I did get a glimpse of their schedule prior to the show, but then I was also looking at it just because like it was an interesting fact. You just hearing all these interesting facts, and then like you actually look at it, and you're just like, wait, no, that team is cooling off. Do you think that there might be a shifting point in the AL East right now because of this? If you look and you see how the Rays performed last month, and then you look in to see how like there are some other teams that are really starting to like heat up, because think about it this way: Yankees are getting Stanton back, they're getting Donaldson back, and they might start to go on a tear. And then you see how the Rays, as great as their record is, though, their record's primarily dominant because of what they did in the month of April. The month of May, they cooled down. Where do you see the team? Where do you see the AL East really heading? Now that this for the first week of June has, well, I shouldn't really say the first week of June, but the first weekend of June play is starting to wrap up.
Yes. Padres still got a nice four game lead. A lot of baseball to be played. I mean, they wasn't gonna play at that high clip forever. So I mean, it's gonna come back down to the pack, and they're going to continue to play baseball and get hot again. I mean, 162 games is hard to play at a high level. Only a couple of teams I've seen play at a high level like that was the '98 Yankees, and that one year the Mariners won a lot of games, but they didn't win the World Series or make the World Series. But it's hard. I mean, AL East is tough. I believe everybody's over 500, so it's gonna be a battle. They're gonna beat up on each other.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
They really are. I mean, that's the only division in Major League Baseball you look at, and you're
Yeah.
just like, everybody's above 500. But then, like, here's a turning point, for example. The
Hmm.
Yankees and the Red Sox will finally play their first series this
I'm shocked.
week.
I'm shocked it took that long. They used to be seem like they used to play every other weekend sometimes.
Like baseball fans, let's just rejoice here. The Yankees and the Red Sox, it'll be over 2 months, and they will finally play their first series in June. As a baseball fan, you look at that and you're just like, wait, usually y'all would open up against each other. And then to top it off, like there's like 3 or 4 less divisional games against your divisional opponent. So it's like that's a crucial. Like I think right now we see where the AL East is, but I think this is a crucial turning point because the Yankees and the Red Sox will finally play, and then you'll really see all the galore Yankee fans are just like, I dislike you, Boston Red Sox fans, and then the same with the Boston. It's gonna be a fun week this week for the
Yeah,
MLB.
and I bet you all games gonna probably be on TV too.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think next week they already announced their Sunday night game is the Yankees and the Red
yeah.
Sox.
The next two Sunday night games are Yankees and Red Sox after tonight because they
Really?
play. Yeah, they play. Yankees and Red Sox play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then the Yankees and Mets play Tuesday and Wednesday. Then the Yankees go to Boston the next weekend and play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yeah,
Now you see that's
yeah,
baseball. That's
yeah,
Major League Baseball. Say, wait, we're making up for this. You guys went 2 months without seeing the Yankees and the Red Sox. We're giving
yeah,
you back to back weekends. So it's like
yeah,
I think that's the turning point for the AL East because they're gonna be like, oh, for so long we said the Yankees and the Red Sox don't play each other. Here's two back to back weekends where they play. Man,
yeah,
it's got to be great.
yeah.
That's going to be the turning point, I'm telling you. It really is. This is where baseball gets interesting because no wonder the season's felt so off. You haven't seen two of the greatest rivals in all of baseball go at it for like 2 months, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, here's two back to back.
Yeah,
It's
then they don't play again until August.
That's the craziest part.
Yeah,
But I think that's a unique part because then it's just like oh yeah, you're there and you're there, so it's like yeah, wow. You got anything more to add? Because I know that's going to be interesting to see those two
well,
battling that.
you also know that everybody's playing everybody, so that also cuts into Yankees and Red Sox games too.
That's true.
Yeah,
Now you're going to start seeing a lot more AL East matchups, and then like you're really going to start seeing
yeah,
who's the contenders, who's really the pretenders. I mean, it's kind of crazy because seeing how the Pirates have played some divisional games already, and then you see like other teams that it's just like, oh, you haven't faced that team yet. That's cool.
yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond podcast. For LaMarr Fields, I'm Tom Johnston. We'll see you guys on the next one.